Hi everyone, it's Grace. Welcome back to my channel. So in the last two videos, I discussed with you about the housing price and the inventory change from April 2021 to 22, both for the West Coast and the Sunbelt states. So I'm going to provide the links up here so you can check them out if you haven't already. And today we're going to discuss a very interesting perspective, and it is the grocery store. I like doing polls, as you can see, and I'm going to be sharing the poll results and what I think about the success of the business model of Trader Joe's in a high inflation environment. So before we begin, remember to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button so you get notified immediately when new videos are uploaded. Also, feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you find it useful. So the poll results actually is a little bit higher than I expected. I didn't expect that many people to switch or either thinking of switching to another grocery store. And then more than 50% of you say yes, you are thinking of switching to another grocery store or already switched. So I think this is a fairly good point that the inflation is taking a really bad toll, especially for food and all the basic supplies. And it's just getting really crazy. And the inflation already started to go up to like 5.4% last July, and then right now it's at 8.3%, and we're feeling the full impact of inflation. And unfortunately, I don't see the inflation going down anytime soon because the Fed's balance sheet is just starting to shrink. And in order to go back to the target 2%, I assume that it's probably going to shrink at least $4 trillion back to the pre-pandemic level. But the actual numbers has to be calculated, so I will do more research into that area. All right. So just so you know, if you're switching to another grocery store, you're not alone. There are a lot of people that are doing the same thing as you. All right. So let's go to see some of the foods that I bought in Trader Joe's, because I think it's very interesting to me to see like you can still get the same quality or freshness compared to another grocery store that you were switching from. All right, so a quick disclaimer before we get into it is that this is not a paid campaign and I don't have any affiliation with Trader Joe's. I generally think that the food products provided by them are fresh and also with good quality within the same budget as before the inflation kicked in. So I just wanted to share with you some of the things that I bought over the weekend, and I really like this one. And this one is like carrot juice, and it's like 100% like juice. And for this one, I'm checking the receipt here, and it's $3.99. So this one is like a 32 fluid ounce, so it's a pretty big bottle here. And I really like this handcrafted font here that shows you the fun of the farm and things like that. And the other thing, which I thought was pretty interesting, is that this teeny tiny bread substitute, which is made of like cauliflower, you can actually make very tiny little pizza with this type of product. It also has like the bigger version of the bread substitute. And I think that the handcrafted art is really unique. And I do see that its marketing campaign has a lot of consistency, especially with the packaging design and stuff like that. And then the other one is like frozen. So if you shopped at Trader Joe's before, you know that they have like a huge frozen food section, at least 2 aisles, I believe. So this is one of them. I think that these are freshly made, but also you have to consume it within a given period of time, which shorter than canned food, but obviously longer than fresh food. So these are just some of the products that I bought over the weekend. And like right now, I'm just basically like doing my grocery shopping every weekend to see what's new, what's fresh, stuff like that. All right. Next up, I'm going to pull up the receipt for the last grocery shopping list that I did over the weekend to just show you a quick idea of how much you actually have to spend. And I actually bought a little bit less than I usually did. So for per person per week, I think a good budget is $100 for per person, right? So I bought a little bit less because I haven't finished the food that I bought 2 weeks ago. So the first thing that I want to show you is that the price of the eggs have gone up like so much. Like I think before the pandemic hit, or I should say precisely before inflation kicked in last year, this time last year, eggs is probably around like $2-3 or something like that. And then right now you're rarely seeing eggs even like below $3 or $4. So the price of eggs has gone up like double or even like triple, and it's like crazy. And then at Trader Joe's, I believe that the dollar amount of the 12 eggs is like roughly around $3, I would say. So it probably has gone up a little bit. And then for the fresh food, for the fresh vegetables like zucchini, grapes, and carrot juice, these prices are I would say exactly the same as 10 years ago. So after I received the receipt, I'm like, inflation never happened here. What happened? Like it's so surprising to me that how Trader Joe's can manage the operation, right? The same type of business operation when food price is going up, and then wages and salaries of the labor market is going up, rent is going up, like everything is getting more expensive. How does it maintain the exact same business operation as before inflation kicked in? And so we're gonna talk about it in this video. And the other thing I'm seeing is that because there are like 50%, more than 50% of the people are like switching to another grocery store, right? So I do see that they're gaining more customers because of the high inflation environment. All right, so next I'm gonna like do a quick calculation just to show you, like, if you're switching to another grocery store such as Trader Joe's. I'm not saying that Trader Joe's is the only store that you're switching to. There are obviously like other stores that also have like below the average cost for food. So let's do a quick calculation. We're gonna compare the amount of money that we spend in the old grocery store and then to the new one with a lower pricing, but the same amount and quality of food. All right. So say if I'm spending $100 per week just for myself in Trader Joe's, then my monthly budget is $400. And then if I still remain at the old store, I'm going to be spending $150 per week. So for 4 weeks, a month, that's going to be $600, right? So you're saving $200 per month. And then if I'm shopping at somewhere that's a little bit higher in pricing, I'm going to be spending at least $200 per month for the same amount of food. And that's just like crazy. And I'm seeing like prices going up like everywhere, right? So $200 per week multiplied by 4, so that's like $800. And then if you subtract $400, and you're saving like $400 per month. So that's just for one person. And at $200 to $400 per month, just think about it. You can use that money, either save it in your bank account, pay towards the higher gas price or rent or monthly payment or whatever it is. So I see a legitimate economic reason for people to switch grocery store because of the high inflation environment. And the other interesting thing is that I actually looked into the history of Trader Joe's. It's actually a private company, so I can't really find any financial statements from the SEC filing. So the only thing that I can do is from my own experience of shopping there, and also do some research online to tell you a little bit about my understanding of the business model here. And so if you have ever shopped in Trader Joe's, you know that it's not a super big retail space for people to like go in there for several hours to shop there. It has very like tiny little aisles, right? So it definitely has like a fresh food section for both vegetables and then also meat. But I also see like a substantial amount of like frozen food, canned food, and also dried food there. And these type of foods usually have like longer than usual shelf life, and also like cheaper price there. So I think like they definitely have like a long-term section to remain those foods there. And then I'm not sure if you realize this, but in a lot of the, especially like in grocery stores, in bakery, or in some like wholesale or retail spaces, there's a wine section. So that's another thing. That's there's definitely a lot of customers coming in to buy alcohol and liquor type of products there. So Trader Joe's or other grocery stores are also not an exception. So I think that the arrangement of the types of food that's sold there allow the prices of the fresh food and most of the items to remain exactly the same as before inflation kicked in. All right, so next up, I'm gonna share with you the articles that I found that can give you a little bit of like the background of how Trader Joe's came into place. And the funny thing is that I think like Trader Joe's used to be founded. It was founded by Americans in the States, but it was bought by a German company called Aldi. And this company is actually very interesting. So Aldi was founded like right after World War II, right? So the economy was in a very bad shape after the war. People were having like really high unemployment rates. So it was like a reconstruction period. So I think that there's definitely a lot of like referencing points that we can see here. After the war, people have to reconstruct the economy. So things have to be kept at a super cheap price in a bare bone sort of like model. So here's the core value that they believe in this type of business model. They're selling non-perishable items like canned food, dried food, or frozen food, right? Frozen food is like half perishable, so that's a little bit different. And then it's also saying that, you know, there's no advertisement, or they're not stacking up any inventory that's not selling. So that's a core part of their business model, is like, if the food is not selling, just get it out. And the second article that I find very interesting is that it rarely does any marketing campaign except for, you know, the physical appearance of the store itself and also the packaging of the products. I have never seen like a paid advertisement or any kind of like campaign on social media, on Google ads, or, you know, anything like that. I've never seen one. The only marketing campaign that I see is probably the sampling or food tasting little stand in store. That's the only marketing campaign I've ever seen for Trader Joe's. So it's saving a lot of cost in marketing campaign. If you know how much companies usually spend on marketing, is usually like at least 20% of the total revenue that they have to drive in. So marketing campaign is a huge cost factor for many companies. So the other thing that's very interesting to me is that the Trader Joe's partnership model is very, very simple. Like here it says it directly works with suppliers to distribute across their network, right? So Trader Joe's is the retail distributor, and it directly works with other suppliers such as food manufacturers or I assume farmers. Although I'm not quite sure the relationship between those two suppliers, but its partnership model is very, very simple. There's no other wholesaler or retailer in between. So a chunk of the cost is actually taken out, which we see in other types of business models for grocery stores. And then, so that explains why it's able to maintain the same price, while probably giving a little bit leeway to increase in wages and salaries and stuff like that. So that actually explains why, like for many of the foods that you buy from Trader Joe's, it actually only has Trader Joe's as the label there. I don't see other types of like sub labels for like that specific food. I'm gonna show you one example. For example, like I bought this one because sometimes I like to drink like sparkling juice because it's a little fun. So like for this one, you only see Trader Joe's, right, on the label. There's no other label there. So this type of partnership explains that it actually forms very private and exclusive labeling partnership with its suppliers. All right, I'm just gonna quickly sum up the business model that we discussed today. Like right now, the inflation is at 8.3%, right? The CPI. And I personally believe that it's gonna go up to 10% sometime in the later half of this year, because it's still a very high inflation environment with the pressure from the Russia-Ukraine war and also the Chinese lockdown, which is not fully reopened yet. So there's a lot of like geopolitical outside environment that's putting a lot of pressure into inflation right now. So I do see that it's probably gonna remain at a very high level. So the bare bone, I would like to call it, the bare bone business model is for Trader Joe's is kind of like a survival mode, and it also takes after Aldi's after World War II type of model. So it's like really in survival mode, and that type of business model actually works a lot better in a high inflation environment. So if you're switching to another store, that basically means that customers needs to find somewhere else to re-budget themselves so that they can have leeway in other types of products that are not so flexible in terms of price, such as gas, right? And then this is I do see that this is an opportunity for a grocery store such as Trader Joe's to gain more customer base, to open more new branches or stores in either in other states or other countries and stuff like that, and also expand the market share. So that's pretty much for today's video, and I hope you enjoy, the calculation and also my sharing of the food and stuff like that. So if you have any comments or any ideas that you want to share, you're welcome to comment in the section below, and we can keep the conversation going. All right. So this is pretty much today's video, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.